Take your time. We'll probably get started here in about 15 minutes.
The audio is good. Nothing too high.
Yeah, no, I think you sound fine. Go ahead.
Okay, good deal.
I would turn it up a little bit. Hello.
So when you were that first thing you're talking about, are you talking about veterans or Lincoln? Well, I can hear you.
All right, welcome into Hashmark Fantasy Talk. This is HFT episode number 3, and you're number 3, and you're probably wondering what the hell I'm doing, why I'm here with Duke right here in my background. This is Duke. He's not here. Is it over here? Over here? I don't even know how to do. Oh, there he is. Stick his nose here. But anyways, Duke is not here, so we got a special guest this week, somebody who you're very familiar with on the network, and we'll be joining the Hashmark Show on the regular, which he did last year. Let's bring him in. No further than Mr. The Beast. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing great. New scenery.
You're back. New scenery, new scenery for you, new scenery for me. I was like, Brian, he's going to be so excited that I'm using a green screen. I got all this shit going on now, because I'm remote. And I told Duke, the guy who does this show with me, we'll always do it together, but we got to keep consistency. I don't even have my rings on, but I do have the glasses on. Consistency's there. Thanks for filling in. But you're a big fantasy guy. You might be on a little bit more or doing segments or stuff. But anyways, how you doing? Tell everybody real quick how you're doing. And then we could pretty much jump right in.
Yeah, doing great. Got a new house, new scenery. So I'll be doing it here. Yeah, like you said, last year I was kind of a fill-in for Hashmark, and then it just became kind of permanent. So
I mean, you just kept logging in. What am I going to do? I couldn't. And here was the problem. I don't think I could have kicked you out. There was something there where it was like you were an admin because you had the credentials. So technically, you could blackmail me. You could say, I'm just going to log in and it's going to log you out. So I was like, well, you just got to come in then. So he's in. I fucked up. I gave him the password way too early.
Oh, yeah.
So Raiders, how they looking this season? Real quick, we'll introduce everybody here. Brian Eastlick, a.k.a. The Beast. He's been with us for a while, and he's always been pretty adamant about fantasy football, and I couldn't agree with I think you might be a better fantasy football analyst than Capper, but I think they go together, and it'll be interesting this year as I get back into fantasy football. Been out of it 6 years, how they kind of go together, knowing the players. So you're excited to start doing some fantasy stuff here. And what's your what's your history been with fantasy football? And obviously, you love the sport.
Yeah, I've got a couple championships, different leagues. I mean, I've been playing over probably. I want to say I've been playing over 10 years now. I've got at least 2 championships, 3 championships, but I played with some pretty competitive guys. The championships, I do have a championship in IDP league, which is individual defensive players. So you have your regular players, then you have your IDP players. So that's kind of fun. I got a championship in that one. I've got a couple standard, leagues, and then kind of we'll discuss, different formats here later. But yeah, there's I have a couple standard league championships and then one IDP league championship.
Let's talk about IDP real quick. We had draft strategy on the rundown there. We can go right into it. Obviously, there's a lot of different draft strategies out there. When we talk about IDP and the independent defensive or player drafting, I've never done that. And I feel it's a lot more to manage. How many players do you have to use? And for any IDP players out there, what is a good strategy going into an IDP draft?
I think you have I can't remember. I think ours had 3 flex D players. So instead of having defensive linemen, we could just have 3 flex. And then we had 3 defensive backs, 3 linebackers, and then 3 flex. So it was 9. I think we had like, and then you just had you have those 9. But I'd always have like a backup or two, to play in case of injury. But I think I always still filled out my offensive side of the board early because
You still had to draft offensive players, right?
Yeah. You still draft offensive players, and like that was always my strategy, was to get the best offensive players I could. When defensive players would go, I would start getting some, because you had to get some key defensive players too, some guys that get high tackles and stuff like that. So it was like I think a lot of us filled out our offensive side, and then there would be some guys that would reach here or there.
What round is a defensive guy starting to go? Around 10, 11, or where?
Yeah, around there, I would say. Usually you're filling out, your top running. This is back when running backs were a high priority.
Sure. Which that's changed now. Do you believe that?
Oh yeah, and I was just talking to my son about that. He's very into fantasy football. I kind of got him into it and stuff. I was telling him, I was like, this zero running back strategy a couple of years ago, people were laughing at it, and now everybody's doing it. Like the top player in fantasy football is Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, in years past, you would have maybe a wide receiver top 5, but that was about it. You'd have, maybe one tight end would go in the end of the first round, or not at all. Like it'd be a tight end would be a second rounder, but like, and then maybe some higher profile wide receivers would be that way too. But now this year, I see a lot of people putting a high priority on wide receiver, which is totally different for me, because it's mirroring what the NFL is doing. There for a while, it was running backs would get taken in the first round, and now you're getting maybe 2 running backs to go in the first round. Or there for a while, there was 0 running backs that went in the first round. So it's kind of like real life draft mimics fantasy football draft. So
yeah, I talked about that last week with Duke, and on a number of occasions that I, in the years past, have simply just went, wide receiver, because I was always on 7, 8, or 9 in draft order from a 10 league or 12 team league, whether it was PPR or standard, and I would always go wide receiver, come back, maybe get a running back, but they're usually gone, but said, well, screw it. So I would go for the Rob Gronkowskis. And that was my theory this year was, well, hell, if you're sitting there at 7, 8, 9, 10, I would say, 9, 10, 11, 12, I wouldn't even be afraid. Go ahead, pull Kelsey, come back around, get Mahomes, call it a day on that double, go move on to the next wide receiver. But I feel like there's so many 1-2 punches that you could pull out of a hat this year to solidify a spot, just like tight end, even though you do got guys like Darren Waller who are playing, out of their minds in preseason, even in camp. You can just YouTube Darren Waller. So, anyways, the strategies definitely change in PPR, standard, half point. What do you prefer?
So right now, what I'm really into, so like I feel like you're kind of like your tastes in like fantasy football and what you prefer kind of change over the years. Like I started out doing redraft leagues, kind of got into some keeper leagues, and then within the last 2 or 3 years, I got into dynasty leagues. And so I'm starting my own with a bunch of my buddies and stuff. So we're doing it's called Superflex. So Superflex is basically 2 quarterbacks, and it's a dynasty league. So you are keeping the same team from year to year. We're taking out kickers and defense because there's not really a lot of stock into that position. We kind of just do away with them.
Yeah, which I disagree with, but we can talk about that. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it's totally people's. It's
sure,
what you prefer.
I know. I can't agree with everything on this.
Yeah. I'll say yeah. No, I agree with a lot of people and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I do play leagues.
But they're a pain in the ass. I totally get it. I mean, they're worthless. They're fucking worthless.
I mean, in like standard leagues, I always pick defensive kicker last. It's like
sure.
They're just like my position that I don't really care about, like, because I feel like they're like
Yeah.
positions.
It's all about the draft. I mean, and how you want to perceive your team. You hit the nail on the head, right? If you don't want to worry about a position, if they don't matter, then why A, even have them on the team? B, just get the best position in that and then move on. And you're right. I mean, if you draft well, you could just get the best kicker at 12 and or 11 and say fuck it. I mean, and just move on. But anyways, okay. So we're over draft stage. Let's go into a couple veterans here that could pop this year. Obviously, everybody knows Aaron Rodgers is in a New York Jet uniform. A number of players have moved around. Who do you got from a veteran perspective that you think could add some value to a fantasy football team this year?
I'm definitely going with Jared Goff. He's about 17th best quarterback in the league. But if you look at his wide receivers that he's got, Amon St. Brown, he's I don't know if you know, Matthew Berry's ride or die this year. So
I did not know that.
Yep, he is. That's his go-to guy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was saying, okay. No, yeah, go ahead. I mean, I love it.
And then when Jameson Williams comes off suspension, he'll have him. He's got Marvin Jones, who's a good, solid veteran. Yep. And then he's got that tight end from Iowa, Sam Laporta. So it's like, yep, he's got solid. And then, he's got a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery to back him up. I feel like that offense is solid. I think Goff is going to have a good year. I think he's very underrated at number 17, but like there's so many, like, I think good quarterbacks. It's like, it's hard to be like, oh, hey, we can't put Goff at 10 when we've got, Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, all the usual suspects,
Well, when you're looking at you're looking at a lot, when you look at the Lions, a lot of total games are going to go over. They're going to throw the hell out of the ball. I think Goff's going to have a great season. And you're talking about two quarterback system of super flex. There's a guy that you could possibly even pick up. If I'm doing super flex league though, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that quarterback position, and I'm probably going to have, Pat Mahomes and Justin Fields type player in that role, right?
Especially with ours, we start off with an auction league, so
even better. So you've got like all this crazy shit.
Yeah, so it's like I said, we start out auction league, so you buy your players. You have a draft. You have a total of $200 to spend. $200, it's not $200 buy-in, but you have a $200 limit.
Sure,
and you have to fill out your squad with that. So I mean, if you're gonna blow all your money on Mahomes, and Herbert's gonna be
different.
Herbert's gonna be a high priority. He's gonna be a guy that could be a $40 player, and then
so
Mahomes is a $60 player, so you're spending about half your money right away. It's like, I mean, it's kind of worth it, but like what I would do, especially in a league like that, is like I mean, there's other good quarterbacks besides the top ones like Allen and Hurts and stuff like that can do well for you. Like you could spend a $40 on Justin Fields, have him your quarterback one, and then come back with someone like Daniel Jones, who I think is who's solid as well. But he's ranked out just outside the top 10 too. So it's like Kirk Cousins is another guy that you can have a QB1 or QB2. It's like, I feel like, I mean, Kirk Cousins is another guy. Kirk Cousins is a guy that's, a veteran that, but like, I feel like he's like, everybody knows that Kirk Cousins always does well. So
he's going to have that like crazy, he's going to have crazy ass games too, where he throws for 9 million. He'll win you a week.
Oh yeah. He's solid. He's about as solid as they come. They're about as solid as my other veteran sleeper.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going, man.
My other veteran sleeper that I was going to talk about is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is ranked at 23 in this fantasy ranking, and he's just a guy that he's about what was I going to say?
Is he still with Washington?
Yeah, he's still with Washington. He's 27 years old. I mean, you feel like 27 years old though for a wide receiver is still a veteran.
Yes.
So it's like.
You're right. At 30, they're out of the league.
Yeah, at 30, like you don't see very many wide receivers doing well past 30. Like Devontae Adams, he's like one of the few that
could have a great year.
Another guy I would have mentioned, but you guys already talked about him, was Calvin Ridley. You and Duke did a very good job of breaking down these guys. So I had to think outside the box. I was like, wow, who do these veterans? Who are these other veterans I'm going to talk about? I'm like, well, they didn't talk about McLaurin, but
we talked about Aaron Rodgers, even though he'll probably still just normally throw for 40 touchdowns. But that's a team that I'm unsure about. I feel like there's too much hype around that squad right now.
But they've got the talent around them. I think it's
So I guess that's the counter, right? How do you not have hype around that? And with a guy like that leading a new group, I mean, that's going to be the question: is, am I going to be an idiot and fade the public? Again, this is not a gambling show, Dave. Get back on track. Okay, so do you have any more veterans or no?
That was just kind of the ones that I kind of wanted to talk about. Obviously, I mean, it's a young man's game. Obviously, I mean, a lot of guys are under 30 in the league right now. It's like, how do you pick? Like, I mean, even quarterbacks. I mean, you look at so many of them. It's like I'm not going to pick Stafford. No, he's dead. I mean, I talked. I mean, if you look at my blog on hashmarksports.com,
there it is. I was going to say, get to the blog. I mean, there's so many new players in there.
You can see that I have Derek Carr, which I've always been a Derek Carr fan, a Raiders fan, obviously, but like he's still, he's older, but he's 32, but he's he's got great players around him too. He's got Olave, he's got Juwan Smith at his
disposal
as tight end, and then he's got Michael Thomas, who's coming back. So it's like he's got guys to throw to. So it's like, and he did a lot with, the players that he had with Oakland. So it's Juwan Johnson. My bad, I said Juwan Smith, but Juwan Johnson and Michael Thomas and Olave, they're great receivers for him. And then he'll have Kamara. I think he's got a good team around him. He's got a defense around him. So I think that it's going to take some pressure off of him to try to win games, like he had to do with the Raiders. So I think it's going to be a good fit for him, and you'll see that in my blog.
I like that blog preview here. And you're right. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that are high on that team. And Sean Payton obviously has moved on. And they're a whole new outlook. And I'll tell you this, we talked about 2 weeks ago, Alvin Kamara, a guy who I believe led the league in payload last year, but had just not a great year, or led the team in carries. But I think, this year the team is going to be a little bit unpredictable, and Alvin Kamara is still a beast and a guy that I would draft this year. So call me crazy, call me not crazy. I wanted your thoughts, though, on this, and anybody that we're bringing on the show, we're kind of asking now every week. Ezekiel Elliott in New England, obviously this is a dynamic player, and now you've got him teamed up with Bill Belichick. I'm expecting a lot of run. Is it the same situation or different with him there? The running backs in New England have always been kind of like, this, but is it now one or the other? I can still see Bill just sticking to it, but you got to take Ezekiel, right?
I think you take him late in the rounds. I mean, like if he's there, but I feel like with New England, they have it's always a running back by committee there, and it's always the flavor of the week. You never know. Like I'm just gonna say,
matter. Even like Walter Payton's there, it still doesn't matter because Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have like any running back he goes with the hot hand. So it's like. I remember when it was like running back by committee when you guys like Bolden, who would do well, James White, who would do well. And then you're going to have Ramondre Stevenson, and now you're going to have Ezekiel Elliott. I think it's going to go with whoever's the hot hand, and I think he's going to get the best out of Ezekiel Elliott because that's how Bill Belichick always does.
I agree with that. I do. I really think that this is one that I can't argue with. I think we're going to see massive games out of him. I think you're going to see even wasn't really an immature player, but I think we're going to see a lot more maturity out of a guy like this with Bill Belichick. And this is clearly a place that Zeke is going to be at times managed. And as it gets colder into the winter seasons, this is a guy that my theory is this: if you're going to have Zeke, have the other running back, and I don't know who it is right now, but
Ramondre Stevenson.
Thank you. You're going to have to play these guys maybe the same time certain weeks because of some players being out. So maybe some tradable options there for you long term, something to think about. But Zeke's still the guy to draft first, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so let's move across the board here. What else do we have? Do we have surprise players that we already did the old one? Let's go to defensive side of the ball. Any defenses that you've been looking at? Obviously, the 49ers are up there, as well as some other teams that apparently are surprising people as well. Not the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings losing a ton of players this year. What do you got on the defensive side of the ball? You can go IDP or team.
I would just say, as far as team, I think the Jets are probably one of the best. They have 49ers on top, the Cowboys, the Eagles, Bills, but Jets at number 5. I think Jets are truthfully number 1. Okay. They're just they're tough. And then I also in a couple of leagues, I've drafted 3 teams already, which, like Duke said earlier, I hate drafting early, especially before the last preseason game. Mm-hmm. But like I've picked the Dolphins in 2 of them, the Dolphins D, because they're gone. Another good defensive team that before we move on, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers always have a solid defense, and as long as TJ Watt's healthy, that defense is tough as they come. So
TJ Watt definitely a game changer. Even if he breaks his hand, he'll still play. One of the older school type of a player still in the league. I do like Pittsburgh's defense. I think at times, the Bears got a lot of work to do, but they'll be stingy in some games. You may be able to holler at them for week to week. But the Jets, to me, you might have to go top 3 with the Jets if you're really considering a defense. Because remember, Robert Saleh. I mean, we already know, and Aaron Rodgers, that whole thing, it spreads through the organization like a virus, and maybe this team is destined to win some. I don't know.
Was it you guys that were talking about, or not? But I was watching some show, but it was like the Jets. They had lost like only X amount of games by like 10 points. Like they had not even scored 10 points. And they're like, someone was saying, like, you tell me that the Jets with Aaron Rodgers can't score at least 10 points in a game,
Yeah, that was another show, but you're right. They struggled offensively. And, hey, if they don't score, we don't lose mentality. So, I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers will get you guys down the field, at least put you into a field goal range. And my mother's happy. She's a Jets fan. So, drafting for me, I'll be quick on this. We've always drafted as close as possible to the start of the season. And, I think the only reason we did that was just because we wanted everything to play out. Now, play out as in everybody's pretty much where they're going to play. Some people watch preseason, some don't. Some people get hurt. But, if you want to look at it from an NFL perspective, we probably should be drafting earlier because, NFL teams don't give that option. And I always believed that, if in fantasy, you should try to keep it as close to NFL as you can. That's just my thought as a general manager and an owner of a league or administrator. I've been an admin for a long time, but, the NFL, I just lost my train of thought because I saw a massive wasp come in here that went back outside. I'm sorry. So what were we talking about?
Drafting is close to the season. And
yes. Yeah. I don't know if it has as much of an advantage. Sure, if a star player gets hurt, but really, if anything, you're crowding your time as it leads up to game night. Unless you do it, like literally. I know people that do it the freaking like night of Thursday night football, the first week. Like, I think that's crazy because it's just too close to game time, But anyways, I don't know if I'm as opposed to the preseason thing as I thought I was.
Yeah.
Especially as I get older and like have kids, like you don't have fucking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing mine on Labor Day weekend on
That's a good one.
Saturday, I believe. We're gonna do it Saturday night.
Is that in-person draft or
Yeah,
are
but
you?
yeah, but you can do it on the Sleeper app. I love the Sleeper app. So
Okay, what is the sleeper app? Here comes a plug. What is that?
it's just a different app opposed to ESPN or Yahoo or
Okay.
NFL. I like it because it's a great app. It's focused a lot on dynasty and stuff like that, so it's more dynasty oriented. But I love Sleeper. But yeah, you can do your auction on there and bid, and it keeps track of because you have to fill out your roster, so you can't spend I think you have 15 or 16 spots, and it'll automatically take out $15. So every time you draft a player, it'll tell you your new max bid and stuff for players. So
wow.
But I still love the atmosphere of an in-person draft. So that's why I had even though we're gonna be on our phones doing the draft and stuff, there's gonna be food there. There's gonna I think I'm gonna try to get a Cameo, someone from Cameo to do one for $20 and
You're doing it right. You're doing it right.
So I love the atmosphere of an in-person draft. That's what always made it fun to me, and I feel like that's what I want to bring. This is this is my league, so it's I want to have people enjoy it. Talk some shit to each other, have some food, do some draft, and then next year it'll be the rookie. Next year, oh yeah, sure,
some drugs, some drafts. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, I'll tell you this I think maybe one. Oh yeah, I have. I was just about to say I haven't done an in-person draft. I have done an in-person draft. The original league that I was always in for about 10 years. We just got decimated over the years. So I'm excited to jump back into Duke's league. Hopefully, I'll be taking it super serious and it'll be fun. But that's how it was for me. It was the same exact way. I always wanted to get everybody out to the cottage out in Michigan, have folders and lanyards, and the past leader got to speak, the commissioner got to come in and say things, and then rings should be handed out, the trophy session, and it never happened, surprisingly, with that league. So I'm really hoping that I can earn my way to the top of this league with Duke and them. But the reality is that everybody's in multiple leagues, and we'll end on this with final thoughts here on Hashmark Show. This is HFT, by the way, episode 3, and just so you know, CRO of Hashmark Sports will be reaching out to the people at Sleeper immediately, because one of the things we're doing here is we're looking for affiliates and affiliate links to push. So we are going to have a Sleeper app affiliate link for Beast and on this show. And I mean, Beast, again, introducing the Sleeper app to this show. We're also sponsored by Bauhaus. I'm not going to play all these back to back. I'm just doing them now. Where is my pen? Bauhaus pen. Where is it? God damn it. Oh, I know where it is, and I'll explain why. Hold on.
There goes Dave.
All right, Mr. Graphics Man, you can throw the logo on the screen now. I actually should put it behind me. But anyways, Bauhaus Pens, a premium cannabis product out of Michigan, Illinois. Bauhaus MI on Instagram, Extreme Cannabis. I'm not even going to hit this right now. I just don't want to. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm getting lit up here. Production. See, I'm not even kidding. They're like, we're done. They're like, you got to go. It's 30 minutes. Keep it tight. Keep it tight. Final thoughts, Brian, for fantasy football folks this week. Fantasy football talk 3. Things that people should be looking forward to from you during the season for fantasy.
Oh yeah, I'm just probably gonna be picking up a lot of just talking about players to maybe pick up on the waiver wire, things like that, and then just probably some posts on some different things about football and stuff, and then you can see me on the Hashmark Show with the boys.
Yeah, I accidentally muted you there. It's exciting because right now, just a lot of people aren't blogging, and that's fine. So we're going to be doing some more of that as well as the Bears season comes up. We're really focused on the NFL. I've been watching quite a bit of preseason. My record right now, if anybody's wondering, 5-2, so it hasn't been bad. But have lost my last 2 NFL preseason bets, but was doing pretty good at the start. Had a lot of overs that were hitting, and I think there's going to be a lot of juiciness to week 1. I do want to leave everybody with this, and a little preview of what's coming up Thursday on the Hashmark Show. Let's talk about a game real quick, and we're going to open up with one that I think we're talking about. We have to. I don't know if it's got to be Kansas City, Detroit Lions. I'm just going to give a free pick right here, right now.
Oh,
I already booked the Detroit Lions plus 7.5. It's down to 6, I think 6.5. I don't know if it's back up to 7. Over under was at 50.5. I would assume over. But I'm
going over. That would be over for me.
Well, the number, if it keeps going, at this point, just hang on to game time and pull the under. You'll hear the same story Thursday, but I'm just saying right now for everybody, if they want a free pick. Do you have any advice in that game or thoughts with Pat Mahomes and the showdown with Goff, the guy we just talked about?
I think the Kansas City's defense is never that great, but their offense really, just pours it on. So
70 points.
Yeah, it's like I feel like that over is going to fly over.
Do you think
over if it's at 51.5? I think it flies over.
Yeah, I feel like Andy Reid is like. Do you think in their pregame meetings they're like, "Look, Lions are a good team," and all these players in the league, they're good. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here? Parity. And but how many points do we want to score? 90 or let's go easy. 50 if they pressure us and put up 35. Okay.
Yeah.
And then send a text message to his nephew. By the way, we're gonna take the over. I mean, we might be there at halftime. Oh, okay.
We might score 50 ourselves.
I feel like this year is going to be the best year, and it's just it's getting to the point now. It's just getting predictable. So that's where I'm at. All right, got to go. What were your final thoughts? Do you have any final thoughts? Any final thoughts on anybody going into their gambling, or excuse me, their fantasy football draft, standard draft? What's the 2 things, the 2 best pieces of advice that you could give somebody who's new at coming into fantasy, or somebody who's been doing it for a long time? Anything that you've learned over the years that you want to share with anybody?
Just always, before you draft, find out who is injured. You do not want to be the guy that finds out that someone is injured when you draft them.
That is a great.
That's never happened to me, but I have called people out on it several times, and you're just like,
you
are
idiot.
You fucked up. So
I've literally been with people who've drafted people who've died.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, that would work out, but they're dead.
Yeah. Do
you ever funk with people in a draft that you're manually doing and put like a Charles Barkley in there?
No.
Shaquille O'Neal. No, I'm kidding. All right, continue, sir.
Never done that. But just always make sure you know who's injured, who's not. And then if you are targeting someone, don't be afraid to reach them if you really think they're going to do well.
How early? How do you dictate that, though?
I mean, if it's a round early or so like that, that could be something like that. Okay. I know that there was a player in my last draft, and I was thinking about getting him the next round.
Okay.
And as soon as I was getting ready to pull the trigger, he got picked 2 picks before me. I literally had his position written out on my paper because this is an in-person draft. I had the position written out. I was waiting.
Who
was it?
Well, we can't say now if you're going to take him. I won't air it. But A, no. who was it? And then B, was he that dramatic of a player last year?
No, it was Zamir White. This is a draft.
You can come in my league. You're not good.
Me?
I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
No, it was, and this is a league where it's
a keeper league or dynasty.
It's a keeper league, so it's not like you only get to keep 4 players. But he was these guys reach so often, so it's like I was like, all right, well, this guy, I'm running low on running backs. I definitely want to get him. I've got like 4 spots left. I want to at least get him. I'm getting ready to draft him, and then they took him. And the only reason I'm going to take Zamir White, right, is because I don't believe Josh Jacobs is coming back this year for the Raiders.
I agree with that.
So Zamir White's going to be the running back. So I was ready, but I would not hesitate if it's a round before. If you really want to take him, and don't feel bad about if you want to draft him, do it.
All right. So, was there anything else? I think we did 2. If you don't have anything, it's fine. I do have some advice for people.
Yep, that's fine. I think that was my 2 pieces of advice that I could really give people.
Okay.
Like, don't feel bad about reaching on someone a round early.
Sure. Okay.
I wouldn't go anything more than a round early, but
yeah. Okay. For me, you just go in and do whatever you got to do. We talked about before the show started, Brian. After that first punch, that first round, that first pick, your whole game plan could be out the window. So just be prepared and go easy. I've always told people this. I used to go into drafts not doing a lick of investigative work prior, and you get the lucky part of fantasy kicks in, and you win a couple titles. You think you're good. And you come back down to earth in season 3 or 4, and you only win 2 games. Next thing you know, you're wearing a pink Cutler jersey in a bar. You're hammered, and it's really tight on you, and you look like an idiot. So I have lost championships. I've won championships. I've been to the playoffs pretty much every fucking year except one of playing. The reality is this. Don't let anybody tell you that, the waiver wire doesn't matter, or can't believe you get up at 3 a.m, or can't believe you take it this serious, or whatever. Do what you want to do. And win that fucking league, man, and let that shit ride and talk, and that's all I gotta say.
Do it at all costs.
Do it at all costs. Kill. All right, thanks, Brian. We'll see you Thursday. So you're good, 9:30ish at night.
Yeah, that works.
That's gonna be the standard. We're just gonna do it 9:30.